Today we're going to cover the forging of the main beam. It's going to involve about 25 minutes worth of power hammer work, but I wanted to show you what was involved in the forging of the main beam. But before we start that, we're going to go back and we're going to cover the basics of measuring to get what you need to make the main beam. I start right here. And I come right along the back side here. And I run along here the full length down to the boss. Once I do that, then I come down here and I take my Sharpie and I put a Sharpie mark on my solder. Once I do that, then I come up here and I lay it out here fairly straight. Stuff's nice and flexible. And then I come up here and I pull a tape on that. And I end up right at 43 inches is what we've got from the tip to here. And I draw me a squiggly line on the paper here. This is where I started. And I mark it 43 inches. That gives me the length of the main beam. But basically, we can taper a length of bar for the main beam, okay, and a nice even taper. And this is about 28 inches of taper, okay. And then the rest of it is basically 2 inch, okay. So you want to take a good look at it and get your game plan on how you're going to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the main beam and we're going to taper the main beam first. And the main beam, for the main beam, we're going to use 3 feet of 2 inch round 1018 cold rolled. Now the reason we're using cold rolled is because my supplier at the time didn't have any hot rolled. Hot rolled's cheaper, so you might as well use hot rolled if you can get it. But my supplier didn't have hot rolled and I was on kind of a time deadline on this, so I ended up using cold rolled. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to hammer that under the power hammer and we're going to taper that down. Okay. So now we're going to start the forging of the main beam. But before we start, we want to make sure we've got our safety gear on and we're ready to go. At this point, we're just squaring it up to start the taper. We always start with square and then we go to round. And now we're just looking to start the taper. So at this point, we're going to put it back in the fire, and we're going to let it heat back up. Now we're bringing it back out. So now we're going to start knocking the corners off of the square so we can start rounding it up. Now at this point, you'll notice as I'm knocking the edges off, I'm having to fight it a little bit at that level. So we're going to put it back in the fire, and then we're going to get a jack stand out to try to set the stock on it, because that's about 32 pounds of stock and it's pretty heavy to be handling. So we're going to try to set it on the third hand to help stabilize it and kind of make it easier. It worked pretty well, it really did. You just have to watch what you're doing and try to get the height correct. We're going to correct the height here real quick. Now we're going to try it again. And actually, that's working pretty well. It really is. As you see now, we're just rounding it up. We're rolling it and rounding it up. Continuing the taper. So now we're having a little trouble. So we're going to stand back here and we're going to look at our alignment and see if we can kind of improve things. We're going to put it back in the fire. And we're going to bring it back out and try it again. Like I said, it is working fairly well. Getting a good even taper. I'm not fighting it too bad. So, the third hand worked pretty good. It really did. So we just want to keep rolling it and tapering it and rolling it and tapering it. We try not to stop in any one place. We just keep rolling, back and forth and front to back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you that between forging, while we're heating it up, we try to keep that bar cool because it's getting rather hot. Later on you'll see us add a handle to it, but right now we're just trying to use the 3-foot length of stock without getting it too long. So we're just trying to keep the bar stock cool. Okay, so we're just going to change the camera angle here so you can see what's going on both at the forge and at the power hammer. It might be a little better angle, a little more interesting. Pull on the bar again. Now we're going to go back to the power hammer. So it's time to add a handle to it, and rather than pull it over and throw it on the bench, we're going to leave it in the forge. We're going to clamp the ground clamp on, and we're going to add a handle to it while it's heating up. So we've got the ground clamp on. Use a piece of 3/4 square bar. We're going to just put it on there, and we're going to weld it on there. Now in a minute you'll notice that we didn't quite get the handle on there level, but we'll take care of that in just a little bit because the first heat after we weld the handle on it. It wasn't a real problem, but it did make it awkward. So in a little bit in the future you'll see us take and straighten that handle out and get it measured. As you can see, the bar is anything but even with the handle. The handle's off quite a bit. But we've got the heat, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to use it the way it is for now. And then after this heat, we're going to take the time to straighten that handle and line it up with the bar stock. So now we're going to stand it up and we're just kind of eyeball it and see how crooked we really are. And yeah, we're going to have to straighten it. We're going to set the bar up on the anvil. We're going to get the stand over there. We're going to set it on the stand. Right there. And now we're just going to we're going to grab a hammer, and we're going to roll it and hit it, and line it and roll it until it's relatively straight.
doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be a lot better than we've got it right now. Yeah, looking to see where we're at, rolling it. Here we are. And hit it again. A little bit more adjustment. There we go. Back in the fire it goes. Cool it off some more. We'll have to grab that bar with her. Back to the power hammer. As you can see, it's getting quite long. 2 pounds hanging out there that far, it's kind of hard to manipulate. Now, as we're tapering this, we're keeping in mind what the original elk antler looked like. So, it wasn't an actual just a smooth taper. It had kind of a roundness to it. So that's one reason why we just didn't taper the whole thing and square and then go round. We hammer a little bit of it square and then we take it round and hammer a little bit more of it. That way we can control the shape of the taper. It's not like just putting a nice even taper on a bar. We're trying to taper it to pretty much match the bar. The one thing nice about it at this point is we've got enough out in front. It's kind of balancing out the load. So I'm not trying to hold up the whole bar on one end. But we are going to reach a point here before too long where there's so much sticking out in front that it's going to want to bend over. You can try to put a stand out there. And if you're just texturing round bar, that works pretty good. We're trying to do that with a tapered bar. It doesn't work out so well because it doesn't want to set in the cradle right, in the stand right. Normally, if I'm texturing, I put a stand out on the back side. Hold the piece up to keep it from drooping. Now you'll notice here that there's times when that power handle gets to rocking pretty good. It's sitting on a 2x6 laminated base, but it's not bolted down, so it does rock a little bit. Once you get used to it, it's not too bad. I thought about bolting it to the floor, but I'm not so sure that that old garage floor would hold the bolts. So I just let it rock. Once you get used to it, it's not too bad. Now one thing you can't see is off to the side, to the right of your screen. My anvil's sitting there and I have a mark on my anvil of where I want to be with my taper. We want about 28 inches of taper on that 36-inch block. So I am gauging that as I go. We're getting pretty close to where we want to be. We're still getting pretty close. We're getting real close where we want a cold texture in the rest of it. So at this point, I'm going to turn the forge off. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to cold texture the bar. All I mean by cold texture is we're going to go ahead and we're going to hammer that bar back to just about the end of it. Just give it. Take away the appearance of just a round bar. Later on, we're going to run it through a texturing sledge on the Beaudry. So this is just kind of, I guess you'd call it pre-texture. And do it all the way to the end. So that's pretty much the way that the main beam was forged. Kind of a lengthy section of forging, but I thought it was important to show you what was involved in the actual forging. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, like it and share it with your friends. That enables me to be able to keep making these videos. So I do appreciate you watching. I hope you had a good Christmas. And we'll catch you next time. So stay safe and bye.